New this morning, the fight against coronavirus is an uphill battle, and researchers out of New Mexico think the fight is about to get even harder. A new study from the Los Alamos National Laboratory shows that the virus is mutating and becoming more contagious. Researchers say the new strain of the virus began in Europe and has since migrated to the U.S. and Canada. The study shows the virus could mutate again if it doesn't die out before summer. Fortunately, though, there seems to be some good news on the vaccine front. Pfizer says that it has begun human testing on a possible coronavirus vaccine. The company started its trials last month in Germany. Closer to home, 2 drugs aimed at fighting the COVID-19 virus are being tested in the clinical trial in Valley hospitals right now. Scientists with Honor Health Research Institute and TGen are studying how atovaquone, an anti-malarial drug, and azithromycin, an antibiotic, affect COVID-19. The combination is currently used to treat an infection spread by ticks. The FDA is tightening the rules when it comes to coronavirus antibody tests. A new agency issued a new policy requiring manufacturers to apply for emergency use authorization within 10 days from when their test is validated. The former policy let companies validate their own tests and sell them as long as they had a disclaimer that it was not approved by the FDA. However, the agency says it has since become aware of companies making false claims about the tests and their accuracy. The tests must now meet the FDA's criteria. Brian.